What's going on, everybody? Bogi here, and today I have a little tool review for you about the Festool Dust Extraction System along with 3M Cubitron Abrasives. Now, I do have to say that this is a sponsored post. They did send me this equipment to review. However, everything included in this video is my opinion and my opinion alone. They asked for an honest feedback review, so that's what you're gonna get in this video. When 3M first came to me about this project, I was super excited. Here at Girl Gang Garage, we don't have any sort of dust extraction system. It is constantly a total mess here. And so I've always wanted a dust extraction system. Really all we have is a shop vac and air hose. I've always wanted like a proper dust extraction system. We do a lot of body work here. We're constantly grinding, sanding, metal, all of the things. So there's constantly a film of dust like everywhere in the shop. It's never ending. If you do any sort of body work, you know the stuff gets absolutely everywhere. And it's like no matter what you do, you just can't get it out. It's in the air. The minute you clean, it settles down and then you've got to clean it all over again. So when this opportunity came up, I was all over it. All right, so first off, what exactly is this? Well, I've heard some folks say that it's basically just a fancy shop vac, and that's not really the case. Kind of multiple machines in one, right? It's the shop vac that you can use it as, and it's also a dust extraction unit for your tools that you're doing any sort of sanding with. All right, so let's take a look at some of the features on it. So we've got a couple of different hose options. We have one traditional hose that you can see doesn't have anything internally. This is just an open hose that can be used as a vacuum, used for various attachments. Also works well for tools that don't require compressed air. So that's one option. But what really sets it apart is the system that allows it to work with tools that require compressed air. So this is called their Lex 3 system, and what it is basically these special hoses that inside here you can tell that it's got two fittings to it, so combined into one. So there's this fitting, and then deep inside there is another fitting. So this is going to attach to your DA sander, and it's going to be 2-in-1. It's going to be your dust extractor as well as your compressed air to operate the tool. So it's less hoses, it's less mess. I think that feature of this is a really cool one. There is another smaller hose. You can see this is kind of a tiny little opening. Now, in all honesty, I don't know what this is intended for. I'm assuming I'm correct, but this is probably gonna be very handy for getting into tighter spaces. All right, so if we look down at the base here, this portion right here, this is your main vacuum part of it. The rest is storage and other cool add-ons for it, but this is the meat of it. So in this top portion, this is where your motor lives. And then down here is where the bag lives. So up top, motor and a main filter, and then down here is the bag, and it is a large capacity bag. It fills this entire space. There are some different types of bags you can get as well. One is kind of a longer life bag. We have the basic one in there, and it's been totally suitable for us thus far. Now the filter is, of course, replaceable. There's one main filter that is a HEPA filter, and in theory it's designed to really be able to handle kind of that finer particle of dust that is created when you're doing automotive work. There is also a secondary filter that can be added, which allows this to work more with wet or damp materials. Now there are some versions of this machine that have the automatic cleaning or self-cleaning option. This one does not have that, but I may need to upgrade sometime because that seems pretty cool. Basically, it is a function that kind of shakes or agitates the filter to release all of those smaller particles so it doesn't get clogged as quickly. This is obviously where the main vacuum goes, right? So this hose plugs into the machine. The other hoses would plug in that same spot. Now this right here, this is an option. So this is for when you are using tools that require compressed air. It does require a high flow fitting for it, and this is going to be your compressed air coming in from the shop air system. It goes into the machine, comes out through this hose and into your Lex 3 hose that is going to power both the vacuum portion of it as well as the tool itself. So again, kind of 2-in-1, keeps everything nice and neat and clean. What's also cool here is that this guy right here is an electrical outlet. So if you have something you need to plug in, again, this is kind of your like centralized system. You've got everything is kind of in like all included in this, right? I've got my rack, I've got a place to put my tools, I've got a place to put my sandpaper, all of my accessories. So I can roll it to wherever I'm working, hook up my air line, plug it in, and I've got kind of everything I need. So while yes, it does operate in some ways as a traditional shop vac, it is actually so much more than that. So as far as the whole attachment for storage, it's kind of cool. There's a couple of different things that you can do, and it's somewhat adjustable to whatever you want to use it for. We've got hooks for holding your hoses. I like that this little tray is kind of a swivel, so you can use it while you're in your workspace for putting whatever you want there, whether it's a tool or your coffee, or maybe I don't recommend the coffee. That's probably not a good idea. I can neither confirm nor deny that there's constantly a cup of iced tea everywhere that I'm working, so it may have wound up on that cart at some point. Up here, we've got a little compartment down here that you can put some stuff in, and then of course we have our sandpaper organizer. So I've got a couple of different grits. These are the sheets of Cubitron DA paper for the 6-inch. If I had paper for the little guy, they would go down here. Side note, how cute is this little guy? As much as I was excited about the Festool, I was also really excited about this because I see people using the little tiny ones on Instagram, and I always wanted one, and so now I'm really excited. It's so cute and little. Look how little it is. But I don't have any sandpaper yet for it, so once I get some abrasives, I'll get to play with this. But we've got our spot for our abrasives, 6-inch, smaller ones would go here, and then of course we have our sheets as well. If we flip it around, see that we have this little shelf here. I use it for my gloves and my face mask, so I always have those ready. I also keep my dry guide coat there because that's what I like to use when I'm doing body work. Access to the drawers. So I've got my blocks in here. You can see we've got a couple of different options. We've got this guy, which is kind of a curved radius one, and then this is going to attach. Oh my God, I just had a total duh moment. So remember how I was talking about that little gray hose that I wasn't sure it was for? Duh. I mean, totally it can be used for what I said it could be used for, but it's for these, and I'm a dummy. So full disclosure, if it wasn't already obvious, I have not used the blocks yet. Like I said, right now we're in the middle of a SEMA bill. I just haven't had a use for them quite yet and didn't know what that gray hose was for, and you just saw me live figuring that out as we're talking. So I'm going to show you the DAs themselves. I talked about the Lex 3 system, so there we go, if you can see that, Lex 3. So this is the system that combines the vacuuming as well as the compressed air, so everything's in one. It's relatively lightweight, and the hose being on it doesn't really detract from that. It doesn't add a lot of weight to it or awkwardness to it like you think it might. The trigger on it, we've got, you can just hold it with the palm of your hand. That's how I normally do it. You could hold it in here if you wanted and just do a thumb trigger. Down here, we've got our speed adjustment. So you've got high speed down to low speed. You can tell with the paper, it's kind of interesting. It's got the abrasive in this fun little pattern, and then the rest of it is kind of this honeycomb that allows all of the dust to get sucked into the machine and trapped. I was a little concerned that the abrasive area was not significant enough, that it's just a really small amount in comparison to a traditional piece of DA paper. However, In actually using this, I've been super impressed with how long it holds up. All right, but enough talking. Let's actually put it to the test. I've got a random piece of panel from a car. It's just a junk panel that I painted previously as a demo. You might have caught it on my past video that I did on the 3M professional spray gun. So now I'm gonna strip all of the paint back off of it. So we're gonna put it to the test, and I also am going to compare it with a traditional DA without a dust extraction system, and we can compare what the results actually are. Now with the traditional DA, you can see that it is creating just a ton of dust. It's just flinging out, it's fallen to the ground, it's everywhere. Whereas with the Festool DA and the dust extraction system set up, virtually dust-free. I mean, there's still a small amount, but in comparison, it's like nothing. Right. So now, let's see just how far we can get with just one piece of Cubitron paper. I'm gonna strip the entire fender down, and we'll see just how far we can get it. And yes, I am putting on a face mask. Just because it's virtually dust-free doesn't mean that you shouldn't wear proper PPE. One thing I forgot to mention that's pretty cool is that you have an off, an on, and an auto position. When it's in the auto position, it can actually detect when you have a tool connected and when it's in use. So if you heard that, it actually shut the vacuum off when I stopped using it. It took a couple of seconds, but it shut itself off. And that's a pretty cool thing. You don't have to constantly be bending down and turning it on, turning it off, turning it on, turning it off. So if I activate this right now, it should turn the vacuum back on. And you can hear it running, and then shuts itself off. A couple things I will say, it is much happier flat. So when you have it flat against the panel as much as possible, that's when it's gonna do as much dust extraction. Although even when I was going at an angle, it would kind of puddle up a little bit, like just the littlest bit of dust. And then once I went flat, I'd kind of go back over it and it would suck it right up. And one thing I did for demonstration purposes is I put a piece of cardboard underneath this whole workbench and fender so that we can take a look after all of the sanding and see how much gross is on the floor. So let's take a look after just this amount, and then I'm gonna do one more step. I'm gonna use as many pieces of sandpaper as it takes to get this thing stripped down entirely. When I'm done, we'll look at how much dust is on the ground, and then we'll also see how many pieces of the Cubitron DA paper we needed to get this thing stripped down. So right now, this is after just that one piece of DA paper. So that's it. All told, I used 4 and a little bit of a 5th piece of DA paper. As far as the cardboard goes, there's definitely some debris on the ground. Some of that is from me hitting the foam, but if you look just at the yellow, there's really not a lot of it. Overall, really pretty impressed. Like I said, if I were doing this with a regular DA, I would be covered now. I can't complain. I could see this making an absolutely huge difference in the level of dust and dirt and the air quality in here, 100%. So this is definitely gonna get used. I'm really happy with it. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit like, hit subscribe, make a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. If you have a Festool dust extraction, I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, be good to yourselves, be good to one another, and have fun out there. The draw system, I'm from Jersey, draw, I should say drawer, but that feels really weird to me. All right, anyway, this drawer system, wearing glasses and face masks totally sucks, by the way.